And Mitch and Shinobi, you know, they're no slouches either on the fragging department. So I think that they are a very powerful team. They're tactically one of the best, I think, in the region, and they've been placing well lately. So I think Renegades really have their work cut out for them here.
Well, speaking of Renegades, we just saw the roster come up there.
Sure.
In terms of agents, what are you expecting to see on the Renegade side things for Split? Anything that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing, you know, over on the Renegade side of things that CP2 has been moved away from Jett and has mostly been Sova, but on this map, he will be picking up the Breach, so that is kind of a new agent for him, something we have to keep an eye on. Also, you know, randyySavage, this is the one map where he will play Killjoy over Cypher, so that is definitely, you know, something that, you know, have to keep an eye on as well.
Cloud9 to kick things off on the defense side and already out of position. Only Killjoy, they're waiting for the push to come into play, and Renegades already taking A control, but Mitch on the approach taking down Retro. At least we'll keep them honest, and now he can play for the post plants. They can play for the retake. Mitchum with another one. That frenzy ripping Renegades to shreds. And now all the utility can get tossed towards the back of the site, banking the grenade off the wall. The paint shells won't get the frag because Mitch comes in and cleans it up, and it all falls down to CP2 on the wrong side of the dark cover. Really no hope at stopping this. And it does get diffused underneath his nose. Excellent retake for Cloud9. CP2 at least will take a kill out of the round, but it feels like a consolation at best.
Yeah, that's always a tough one. You know, at least they're able to get a little something there, but just such a great little play there from Cloud9. Another good thing going on for Renegades is they did get the spike plant there, so it gives them the option to take, you know, a more conservative approach this round, have the full economy in the next, and be able to put their best foot forward right away. Obviously, second round conversion rate is very high in this game with the economy system, the way it's structured, particularly when teams want to be conservative after the spike plant and, you know, not try to do any kind of crazy force buying other than maybe a sheriff or something, as we are going to indeed see them hold back on just the upgraded pistols. They will be putting a full mid-focus here, all 5 players.
Straight up into the tower via mail. Winsum is trying to get a little bit of intel, but only has the classic by his side. And Mitch with that Spectre kicking things off as he did in the pistol. Stinger up close in TenZ, you said. Definitely a player to watch out for in terms of fragging potential. Right, randyySavage gets splattered, and it feels like it should be going the way of Cloud9 again, as we expected to see come in.
Yeah, it's worth noting that TenZ is going to be on the Reyna this time. This is an agent he's really been phasing in over the last couple of months after being primarily just playing like Jett for the most part and then some Raze. You know, Reyna's really an agent he's been going to. And this will be, I think, the first time maybe that he's played Reyna on this map in this qualification process. I think he's been pretty much playing Jett every other time that he's played Split. So I do kind of wonder if Renegades were anticipating that particular agent swap. It's always really hard to account for TenZ. He's such a wild card. From talking to Shinobi, they give him a lot of freedom. And there are times when he will literally just tell the team, you know, what they're planning for the match that day, like, hey, I'm kind of feeling this agent today. And then they kind of play their game plan around it. They factor that into their equations and how they want to, you know, bring their playbook to the table. So that's something to keep an eye on. And the other big thing that I'm kind of noticing here from Cloud9 as well defensively is that normally their Killjoy is like kind of more of an A anchor piece. But you're actually seeing the Raze from Relyks kind of play that position when he normally is kind of a B defender. So I'm not sure if this is an adjustment they've been working on in practice or if it's something that they swap up a lot. But I was watching some of their most recent matches on Split. I definitely did see this defense a little bit different. So that is also a little bit curious, whereas everyone else is pretty much where they would normally play. Usually it's going to be, you know, the Reyna and company kind of gearing out over towards Heaven, and then Omen usually is on Shinobi on that A rotation kind of play. So other than that, everything looks pretty standard.
Oh, apparently we have a tech issue, unfortunately, so we haven't had too much of the game to really talk about, but I was about to say that in terms of the purchase on the defense side, they will be running with the good old bonus. They have some Spectres, and meanwhile, on the attack side, it's going to be rifles. Now, we've been informed about the tech wars, which
they just wanted to see our beautiful faces, right? I mean, that's what I take it as, Vince. I mean, you're looking nice with that more clean-shaven look, Vince. Not many people would have recognized you, I think. But it is indeed Vince, as we are going to see the quick take from Retro on Jett, dashing through here, looking to burst onto the site, and they have indeed found space, but First Blood's gone to TenZ, as they put a lot of mid-focus here on Cloud9. They really took control of that and kind of just played for the retake on B, and they will have the huge advantage because of that.
Fault line through. No one is tagged in the process. But again, remember, this is a bonus for Cloud9. Renegades have got to get their teeth and sink it into this round. Gotta keep that economy down. Oh, the Boombot destroying shinobi. Had 2 players to contend with as well. Pink shells are out, forces TenZ back a little bit more. He's the one player with the rifle, and now he is the last player alive. Still all of his HP intact. Headshot comes through. Gets 2 kills, which is really impressive considering he should have been dead to rights. Keeping the economy honest of Renegades, but they have got their first round.
Yeah, that was just some awkward timing that took place in that spawn hallway. You could see that shinobi was setting up some smokes in the corner, but the Raze put the pressure on, and then the Boombot came in just perfectly timed, forced them to try to take the straight-up fight to the Raze and kind of ignore the Boombot to a degree, but just they weren't able to get the kill clean, and so the Boombot was able to finish them off, and that portion of their retake was well and truly cut off and basically secured the round for Renegades, who are a team that definitely can do these nice little burst-type plays. They're very comfortable just kind of using the Raze blast pack and the Jett dash with, you know, a combination of breach flashes to really just kind of close distance and try to knock the defense off guard. And so it looks like we're going to be seeing that again. Their team doesn't really play default a lot, Vince. They really do kind of favor lining up these executes early on, and it's going to happen again.
Straight out. Nothing slow, nothing steady about this, but the over-aggression may be an overextension. And it has been reined back by Mitch. And although TenZ is low, he still stands his ground for 1. The spike's still under control of Renegades, but they've been smoked off and kept at bay, and it's going to be difficult for them to step back up again and make anything work. They need entries desperately.
Yeah, they need Randy to be able to figure something out here in B heaven and kind of divert the attention of this B defense, or at least kind of force them to respect multiple angles at once. But TenZ playing smart, will retreat. He does give up B heaven control, but he keeps his life. And again, Cloud9 with these numbers can just play retake. They can play, you know, steady. They don't need to take any huge risk. They now have the alert that Randy has indeed taken B heaven with the turret. They will drop down the lockdown here to try to push the defense out of place.
30 seconds left.
Randy gets the entry we were looking for. It's Vice that goes peeking. Getting punished. Great flashpoint from CP2. Yields the kill into TenZ, who was low. 20 seconds. Mitch, with 26 HP to his name, will get his 3rd of the round and could be in for more. But Relyks takes it away from him. Not that he'll give any cares about that, because Renegades have conceded again. It's a 1 and done.
Indeed, it is just kind of them winning that bonus round, so to speak, where Cloud9 were still just sitting on the Spectres. Now that the full rifle force has come out from Cloud9, a tougher time there for Renegades, as we are going to see Renegades not really able to put too much into this one. A couple of sheriffs is going to be about it, maybe some abilities purchased. They do have the ult ready for CP2 if they want to roll out the Rolling Thunder, though usually you kind of want to save that for different moments where you have more that you can go along with it, unless you see an opportunity. So I imagine they will just kind of play this out a little bit more standard. It looks like they are putting some mid-control focus and just kind of spreading the map and hoping that maybe the Sheriff can find a pick, or maybe that Winsum can close this with the Frenzy and try to create something.
Haven't had too much success as of yet, Renegades, on getting that first pick, but where it has come in, it's been through the B rafters and the B tower. Mitch, though, playing up on the rafters itself. There's flash points and all kinds of flashes being expended, but it really not at that much cost of life. Shinobi, Phantom into the head of Retro, and now 2 Sheriff-wielding players remain. It's Berghy taking point for his team, walking over the corpses of his teammates, but they do at least have the spike under control. So this could catch a couple of Cloud9 in transition, but Mitch is having none of it and seems to realize where one resides, there very well could be both, and he would be correct in that assumption. 4-1.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty common execute that you'll see on the B side, usually more on gun rounds, but definitely can be used on ecos, as you saw there, where you're basically just getting mid-control, and you're having your Omen throw the paranoia from Ramen to really clear out B heaven, and then once you get into B heaven, you're using your breach to flash out through the rafters and actually pounce onto the site from above. Issue is, Cloud9 was playing their double B heaven defense from outside, so they didn't really get phased by the paranoia, and were able to just kind of hold angles after that and just shut it down. As we do see, again, Renegades setting up for potentially a B burst play with the Raze blast pack and Jett dash. Or they also could be going for mid-control again. They do have the bulk of the forces now stepping into Ramen. Smoke down on ropes.
Great flash tossed in. First kill goes in. Do they expect the player to be to the left-hand side, though? This could catch Relyks off guard, but he doesn't get peeked. So he gets the ultimate orb and can just back away peacefully. Again, the first kill goes the way of Cloud9, and now the Rolling Thunder starts to chip into the side flashpoint alongside it, and Winsum is picking up all the pieces. Showstopper also picked up to try and fend off the defenders. Plenty of damage put to the CT as they look to try and push behind it. Winsum's not happy with just 2. He wants more. He gets more onto Relyks. And as the spike begins to get planted, Renegades have a 2v4 in their favor.
Yeah, it's looking like Cloud9 are going to have a tough time cracking this egg open here. Only 2 agents left. They do have the ult on TenZ. If he's feeling it, he could pop the Empress, but he needs to find an opportunity first. He needs to get that first kill to give them that little bit of breathing room, and they will combine for one just now. But now TenZ, all by his lonesome, paranoid, stuck in the corner, does somehow still find a frag despite the near sight, but not enough to really get things rolling. A great little set piece there from Renegades Vince. Great use of the Rolling Thunder and Winsum's blast packs to really close distance on B side, catch a couple of players stunned, and create openings. And like you were kind of talking about, I like how they had CP2 flash Winsum into spawn and disrupt the retake before it could even really get started. That is, you know, fantastic work. And now you're starting to see Renegades come alive on a big rifle round and take victory. And it looks like this time they want to go more standard. They will go ahead and send Randy with the Killjoy as kind of that A-lurk, and the rest are going to be kind of looking for mid control, and the Raze will be looking to push B lobby.
It's a good fault line, but there's nothing behind it.
Swarm grenade out.
Yeah, we were mentioning before about how split needed to be the map where Renegades really stood up, and after going 4-1 behind, you fear the worst for them. Lockdown now deployed.
This is going to be a fake. They put the lockdown on the A side, but everyone else is B lobby, and it's actually working out pretty well. Cloud9 has already pivoted some of their players over towards A heaven. They've also got players in location by screens, and so it's going to be a wide open B bomb site. Vice will, of course, hear this. He'll have to back off, though, and try to set up for the retake. And Killjoy, the randyySavage, he might be able to cut off these rotations. He's definitely hearing them trounce over to B heaven.
This is a masterful tactic from Renegades, and Cloud9 have bit down hard. And can they stand their ground now that they've got the post plant? Because Mitch is in fine form, and he is delivering so many fatal blows, gets caught and reload, and Retro punishes him. They have low players, and Relyks maybe can do a little bit of damage, trying to bypass the turret that loads into falls into security, but randyySavage with a 3K. And should also be mentioned that Cloud9 Blue used their Killjoy lockdown as well.
Yep.
They used it on A. They completely bit on that fake.
They indeed did, and the funny thing is, that's actually a page out of Cloud9's book. You will see this sometimes on their attacking side when Shinobi has to from the shadows, and they combine it with Mitch's, you know, lockdown. Mitch will lock down one site, and then Shinobi will ult to the opposite side to plant the spike and have his support kind of in middle. So Renegades not quite doing the same thing, but at least the same idea of using the Killjoy turret, or Killjoy lockdown as a fake. This round, they're going to be looking for an A burst, and watch out for Winsum blast packing into heaven. He loves to do that, but look at this. I want to get in their face, but Retro's caught it.
They only had 2 rifles. Both of them have been put down on the defense side of the site, but they've been forced away with the dark covers, and that opens up some control over the A site. CP2 making sure that TenZ plays no further part in this round. And Cloud9 Blue, who started off with such a solid showing, a 4-1 lead, have now been cut back down to size. They did also invest into this round, so they will be struggling, and it will be 4-4.
Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on for later, by the way. I didn't really want him having an impact this round, but whenever Renegades go for their A burst plays, they like to have Winsum blast pack inside of their own Omen smoke in that heaven window. He actually did do it that round, but because they already caught such an early pick on the aggression from Cloud9 over towards A halls, they didn't really need to implement it. He kind of just used it to very quickly cut off any type of rapid retake attempt, and it just kind of fell back off it into the site and played standard. But again, the trading efficiency was just so high for Renegades there, and again, it's kind of stamping out Cloud9's more assertive efforts that, again, they didn't really have to work too hard for that victory. It kind of fell into their lap, you know, playing really strong. This is something we talked about, right? Like, this is a team that has often struggled throughout the year, particularly against elite level teams, but they've really shown some improvement throughout this qualifier, even playing a really good series against TSM, including taking a map off of them, and that map being Split. And Split has been a map they've pulled a couple of upsets on throughout the year, including against Cloud9 even in one tournament earlier on. So we are starting to see it materialize a bit. Renegades are getting onto a little bit of a roll here, coming in as the underdog. But again, they just look better. I'm not sure if it's the role changes they made or if it's the coaching that they've added, but whatever it is, they look like a much more tuned team. And that means Cloud9's going to have to work a little bit harder at this.
They've had their own upward trajectory when it comes to splits, but they are going to be tested well and truly. That is from the shadows being nullified and cancelled. Gets intel though for it. And mitch goes in for the re-peek on low HP, maybe anticipating that there could be some utility firing his way, and the opportunistic peek nearly works out for him. Vice, the meanwhile, holds on. Retro gets pummeled. It will be a case of getting returned on, though, from Winsum, and now with those kills and the damage that's been inflicted, Renegades can start to push onto the site, and there's not too much defense there to fend them off.
No, it really wasn't. No one was really playing the site. And again, you're seeing Renegades kind of using some of Cloud9's weapons against them, but hold the phone because that Rolling Thunder has done excellent work. Shinobi off the back of it with the hat trick. Vince, that came out of nowhere like an RKO. Shinobi from the top turnbuckles is going to hit him. And that was incredible. I didn't see that happening. It really, truly caught me off guard.
I think it caught Renegades off guard too, Dust. They
got
completely battered.
I had so much prepared about how Renegades had done such a great job using randyySavage's turret as a peak, which is something that Mitch has kind of really started to innovate, since you are going to soon see, you know, Killjoy have to be near her items to be able to have them active. It's where you can't just use it to watch lurks. And it was looked like they were doing that really well to open up B, but then, man, that Rolling Thunder retake was just on point.
They're going to counter that disappointment with some ruthless aggression in this. Retro that goes in first, may get caught from the side, though Shinobi was waiting the off angle. Baits out his teammate to perfection. randyySavage posts up one, and CP2 follows in. Flashpoint to the back of the side, trying to force away the defenders. But Renegade will have to battle back from a player behind.
Oh. Berghy there with the from the shadows, makes it over to B, takes down the turret and puts the spike down. The problem is his support has been cut off at middle. Now he must clutch this alone 1 versus 3.
That's full HP. Has one dark cover to play with. It has to come down to timing. Great headshot onto Relyks, but now his position is compromised. They know exactly where Berghy resides. They have to cross, though, if they want to get to the spike. Oh my god! Berghy lines them up, knocks them down, and demolishes Cloud9.
That was impressive. And look, I have to say, Berghy was normally not a guy that was known to be a heavy lifter when it came to fragging on this team. That was normally more kind of Winsum or, you know, their new addition, Retro. You know, some of these other guys have been really the ones that have looked skilled. But I have to say, Berghy has stepped up his individual form quite a bit over their last couple of events, including this qualifier. And that was a big money clutch right there. Even with the odds stacked against him numbers-wise, and the fact that he got found out pretty quick in the 1v2 on his positioning, lining up an incredible spray down. Cloud9 are reeling from that one as we are seeing them look again to burst on this B site.
Down, deployed. Will there be any detainees come the end of the next 7 seconds? Cloud9 have to scamper away, hope for the best. Will they get beat? They do, with TenZ alongside Mitch. Put down some serious vigor with their bullets. A barrage of them headed towards the garage, and no one left standing on Renegades, barring Berghy, who's hot off the back of a great clutch and a very weakened teammate. So he starts to back away, and whereas last time he was able to reposition with the from the shadows, he no longer possesses that, and no longer possesses his life either. It's looking like Cloud9 will pick up the lead and bare minimum be even at halftime, but they'll be looking to take the 7-5 lead. And Renegades, how much do they have in terms of credits to buy this potential buy?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a really good attacking side from Renegades, considering how well Cloud9 started going up 4-1, considering that this is one of Cloud9's best defensive maps. When you look at their defensive round win rate, this is near the top next to Ascent, as far as usually how successful they are, particularly against competition that's not ranked as highly as them in the scene. So to see Renegades have this much success on mostly clutch buy rounds, including a big clutch from Berghy, this is impressive stuff. Now, can they follow it up in the second half is a different story. And also, one chapter we still have left to turn on this one is whether or not we can see them close the gap and tie this thing up before we transition, as once again, they're looking towards B very early on.
More aggression. Love to see Renegades just ruthless on their endeavors. Satchel's supplying Winsum with very quick positioning. It will be another post plant. This has happened so quickly, though, that you have to assume Cloud9 are going to have a ton of utility. Rolling Thunder alongside the lockdown. have been counteracting one another. Paranoia is on point, but no one's there to pull it up. Boom around the corner. Now Mitch gets up close and personal. Relyks with 2 paint shells, and then the Phantom into the head of Retro. And another one as randyySavage gets called, and shinobi catches CP2 out in the open. Cloud9 with a perfect retake.
Yeah, one of the few times you're actually going to see a lockdown attain someone and put them out of the round, essentially. Really well done there by Cloud9 to recover, get 2 of the last 3,
Switching
and
sides.
keep themselves a little bit of a lead as they switch over to the attacking side. But hey, I have to say, props to Renegades. We talked about this pregame, how they've looked more impressive throughout this qualification process, how they had a great series against TSM in the groups. They do look like a much improved team from what I'm used to seeing. And that makes me excited because I think on paper, if you didn't really look deep into how the recent form has looked from Renegades, you would have probably just written them off in this quarterfinals, but they've really stepped up to the plate and delivered here. And what's even more impressive is how cold they started. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of this game now. I'm really hoping we see a nice brawl between Cloud9, who has, you know, firmly been at the top of the scene the last couple of months based on a lot of their top 3 finishes, and, you know, this Renegades team that looks on fire right now.
Oh, you saw some fire frags. The halftime replay brought to you by GoPuff. And now we get into the second half with Cloud9. 2 rounds to the good. As you said, Renegades did plenty of work. A great comeback to keep themselves close. But if they were to concede this pistol, they're in dire straits. And they will know it. Fault line thrown into the mix. And a good dark cover alongside Paranoia will stave Cloud9's aggression off. And then Berghy goes in for the peak. It's more utility tossed in. And Renegades, they did put a lot of their emphasis, a lot of their focus over on the middle side. They've given up A as a result, but with a player to the good, you would have to favor them in the retake. And the post plant hasn't even came in just yet.
No, it's been planted a little bit late here. Like you said, they put emphasis on stopping the default from being able to get mid control. But it's really set them up with the advantage to go for this retake. Shinobi, though, trying his damnedest with his teammates to see if they can't hold off the line. They've been able to get a couple here, 2 versus 3, but shinobi severely wounded here towards a ramps and really being isolated from his teammate.
Isolated, but Vice is still chipping in with frags. They're going for that defusal in amongst the cloud burst, and it will be a success. It's a great cost to their HP. It's a great cost to their economy, but Winsum then just taking down Shinobi and Vice. No problems with the Classic and Renegades. They're right back into it.
Indeed they are. They're probably going to get... Oh, never mind. Cloud9 says nay. They put the Hero Bulldog on 10, so they are going to put something into this round. It's not just going to be the upgraded pistols. I thought they might just full save and get the full buy in the next, but we see another weapon has been purchased also. I think someone's going to get a Spectre here on top of TenZ having the Bulldog, so they are indeed putting some real effort into this round right off the rip. As it looks like they want to get some mid control with Relyks, or at least put some pressure there, but you can see that the focus is very much going to be towards the A side of the map.
Keeping their options open, but as you say, Spike over on A hasn't shown its hand just yet. Winsum having a quick peek. We'll find intel. 3 players there. 2 of them sprayed down. The Spike's gone with it. And this Hero Bulldog, it doesn't seem will have much fight after all. Boombot forces them away. Vice goes in for the peek. They have to deal with the Boombot though. They could very well risk the chance of death. Winsum gets 3. Does get traded out though. But he can't quite get across there to pick up the Spectre because he's such low HP. It does look pretty bad for Cloud9, but at least they've taken some players down with them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the way they were following up that round, I think for Renegades, it probably felt a lot like a default. I mean, Killjoy on Mitch was playing outside B. That's pretty standard for a default for Cloud9. The Raze was one patrolling A ramp initially. Again, that's very much how Cloud9 plays their default, is Killjoy and Raze on the periphery. And then with, you know, Relyks putting that nade down inside, you know, heaven area, that did maybe alert them a bit to the fact that, well, wait a second, Raze isn't playing A's, he's putting a grenade, maybe they're going to put a focus on middle. And instead, it turned into what you saw there. Now, here's something interesting. Cloud9, with TenZ on Reyna, they have some really gimmicky B executes that a lot of teams I don't think have even seen yet. And Shinobi was kind of telling me about some of it yesterday. So I'm curious to see if it comes here, and if it does, I'll kind of let you know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to ruin the surprise.
To see if Renegades are fans of surprises. Cloud9.
Watch for the Omen smoke placement from Cloud9. If you see it towards wood, it's one up. Yep, here it is.
Put in. There's a satchel, but Retro, he knows exactly what's coming up. And he's having none of it. TenZ, though, straight through with the Vandal, taking his head off. Although Cloud9 now do have much better weaponry than their last round, they are falling apart at the seams. Vicelow trying to put it back together again. He's stitching the kills together. He's connecting the dots, connecting headshots, and now CP2 on the flank may get the drop on the first of the weakened Vice, but he doesn't know where that second player is. Flashpoint comes out, right idea, wrong timing, and TenZ punishes him.
Yes, that wasn't exactly what I was referring to. I know that they have a strat where they put that smoke towards wood, which you saw there, and they also smoke out B heaven, and then what they do is they have TenZ use his leer to let them wrap around pillar, and instead of attacking straight to the back of the site, as most teams will do with like a Jett dash or a Raze blast pack, he will actually attack underneath heaven, and they'll kind of wrap it that way. The problem with that round is I believe it was Retro on Jett who basically stopped that from happening, but somehow Cloud9 paddled through that initial resistance and still found the round ultimately. But do keep an eye on that for later, Vince. It is definitely a strat that Cloud9's been working on with TenZ when he decides to play Reyna into the wall.
Oh no! Oh, he just got away with it. Then comes back around again, though, curving like a boomerang, and Berghy gets it on the back of the head.
Oh,
I thought he was dead the first time of asking.
So was I, and then I bet he was feeling real cool when it drove by. But Roomba, he's too smart for that. He's come on back. Poor Berghy.
Was a weakened buy, so I'm sure Renegades won't be too downhearted about that, but it does mean they're eyeing up a 9-7 deficit that has now came to light. And it's a flawless round, so economy building up nicely for Cloud9.
That boombot put a smile on my face, Vince. He is a true hero that round.
There is something really satisfying about getting boombot kills, because it doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it's a real feels good.
It's definitely primarily an information gathering tool, I would think. But yeah, every now and then you're able to use it to peek off of and force the aim of your opponent to be diverted, or force them to pick and choose. Do I want to take this on the chin to fight you, or do I want to have to shoot at your bot and then I give you an advantage in the duel? So it can definitely be used in that way as well. But yeah, more information gathering. By that time, it just full on got the frag. As we are going to once again see Cloud9 open a little bit unorthodox. Again, usually on their defaults, they don't have TenZ lurking with Reyna towards ramps. Again, normally he's a Jett player on this map. But they have now, again, Relyks on the Raze kind of helping out with mid control a little bit more forwardly. They do still have Mitch kind of being the solo out in B lobby with his turret just kind of holding. And it's going to be the mid control being taken here by Cloud9. They won't really hold on to it for too long. Relyks will keep putting pressure, but it seems like they're diverting their attention through Sewers to come back for some type of A set piece. Killjoy putting down the lockdown on B, trying to fake out that site.
Placing swarm grenade. Swarm grenade out.
No one's budging though.
No, nowhere near as much of a bite down the other way around. Renegade did go for the same strat. Didn't he throw out his showstopper there? As he got killed, I'm not entirely sure what happened, but he's been traded back, and now CP2 flanking around the side, taking down Shinobi. Flight carrier goes with him. Retro nullifying Relyks and vanquishing the aggression. Cloud9 in trouble. They have picked the spike back up again, but they still need to get onto the site itself, which they've now lost control over. And with only 15 seconds and a lack of utility alongside it, this is going to be asking a lot. They have turrets to contend with, they have plays to contend with, but Vice is still holding on, still just about surviving, but for how much longer? Somehow mitigating all of the trouble, mitigating all of the problems ahead of him, gets the plant down, but Retro deals with him instantly afterwards, and it's a swift defuse on top of it. They may want to pick up as many guns as possible and upgrades, but the round is done. Cloud9 will concede.
Again, man, Renegades are impressing me this game. They're really going toe-to-toe with Cloud9. They're played an excellent attacking side, and now we're seeing some great defense. Really well done there. They did not bite on that lockdown fake one little bit. They held the line. They played disciplined Valorant, and they come out with the victory, and now they're one away from tying this thing up. Their economy is a bit fragile. A reset could certainly harm them and allow Cloud9 to build up even more of a lead. But Cloud9's own money is, you know, kind of being chipped away at here, so there could be a big swing in momentum depending on what Renegades are able to do here in this round. Again, we are going to see a slight default opening from Cloud9, that they do have a bit more emphasis towards the A side early. Spike, though, is going to be on Shinobi more towards Ramen. So I'm not sure if they want to use his smokes to take mid and kind of split up through ropes, or if they're eventually going to fall back off A and try to take into male with Shinobi's paranoia. But it seems like they are just going to try to come up ramps, and Randy will be alerted.
Cloud9 taking early real estate, but not really doing too much with it. Trying to switch it over. Dark cover put into play. randyySavage caught in position. Can't really aggress behind that fault line. Doesn't really affect either Relyks or TenZ, but at least forces them back a little bit longer and gives a bit of valuable information to Renegades. Just being very careful on the approach. Bit of a stalemate coming into play, and the spike has been dropped way back towards the defense, or the attack, pardon me, side of middle. Now picked up, though, and starting to make moves. But a lot of time is elapsed already, thus. They've got to get a move on.
They do, but the thing is, with them having this A heaven pressure, it's really kind of keeping Renegades sold on this being an investment towards A. They're not really able to freely rotate, and all it does is allow B heaven to be even more vulnerable. It's just the two defenders on the side itself, and the rotation's going to be a ways off, and TenZ doing a great job holding those A players in place.
Falling Thunder has been dispersed, and now Renegades realize that they are completely out of position. Relyks alongside Shinobi get the entries that they were desperately looking for, and even though time is of the essence, they put enough down to make this round theirs. Mitch is still alive, somehow, someway, with the classic 3 bullets in the magazine, and baiting out Winsum, who then gets sprayed out from Relyks. Great round, Cloud9. Not only do they take it, they don't lose a single player in the process.
Yeah, that's just good map control there from Cloud9, and when you have that type of control and Renegades have no way to get information back, or you know, they really either have to just turtle up and hope for the best, or they have to try to make some type of aggressive play. They kind of just sat back, and you know, I think that TenZ did a good job on the Reyna, you know, doing just enough to sell the idea that A was still very much a threat, when in reality, you know, Cloud9 had diverted into middle, which was open. They got into B heaven. There was really only the 2 defenders on the side itself. The rotation was pretty far off, and Cloud9 got in there, got the spike down, and made sure that the retake could never get underway. So a good response from Cloud9 after Renegades has had a lot of success, and Renegades are still very much in this. They've been playing some very good Valorants. So you are going to see Cloud9 looking to waltz into A. It is a light buy here, but that's a great little shot from Randy. You're going to do a lot of damage.
Knocking Omen down to 1 HP. That's going to sting. Blade Storm also deployed. They'll be hungry for some kills, using the dark cover. Finding though not working out for Retro or Winsum. And that ult has been completely denied. Randy does get one. Landing another headshot. This time it sticks the landing for the frag. But it leaves CP2 in a really awkward position. Vice going in for the plant on the spike. And it's looking good for the 11-8 lead. Renegades, they've definitely been heroic in their stance against Cloud9, but it just seems like that superior firepower starting to really come to the forefront for C9.
Yeah, that's part of it. Another part of it was kind of the economic reset situation we discussed a couple of rounds ago that was always on the horizon if Renegades weren't able to, you know, collect a couple in a row. And at that round, obviously, they were really only working off the shares from the Blade Storm of Retro, and unfortunately, they just didn't really find a way into the round. But again, it's not really the round that Renegades were likely to win, given their limited utility. But next round, they're going to be able to have a full buy. They have CP2 on the Rolling Thunder. I believe they have 3 other alts in play as well, including the Lockdown. Their Omen also has from the Shadows. So, I mean, they have a lot that they can put to use in this next round defensively, if need be, for retakes or, you know, for info gathering. So I would, this is the round you really want to do it, right? You don't want to let Cloud9 get to map point. This is probably your best map to get an upset on, considering their win rate on split, their comfort on it, the fact they've been able to beat Cloud9 on this map in the past. They've beaten TSM a couple of times, so it really feels like this is their shot. But time is running out, and I think this is the round that has to happen for them. If Cloud9 can find a way out of this one, they should be, you know, getting that 1-0 start to the series.
And considering that Ascent is up next, which Cloud9 are 30-8 on,
yeah,
probably doesn't bode too great for Renegades should they lose this, which is why we're really building this up as the map that Renegades needed to win.
I will say Renegades have looked more impressive on Ascent recently. I was watching some of their most recent games on Ascent, and again, like the majority of their map pool, they have really been making some strides to, you know, get strategically more sound, to gel more as a team, and I would think that they would still put up a good fight there as well. But yeah, certainly when you look at, you know, past results, you know, head-to-head history, Ascent certainly favors Cloud9. They've already beaten Renegades, I believe, twice on the map throughout the last few months.
Well, just 2 away from beating Renegades here on Split to kick off the quarterfinals. So much on the line for both teams, and Renegades maybe into one of their last opportunities to really make anything stick. As you highlighted, though, plenty of ultimates at their disposal, plenty of abilities that they can toss in. Lockdown, Rolling Thunder. Keep an eye out for these. Good fault line will allow them to make passage into the Raptors, into the Heaven area. And this is an area that Cloud9 have consistently looked to punish and consistently looked to get fights into. TenZ will get the upper hand to Winsum. That's a huge pick.
Indeed it is. That really gives Cloud9 that initial bit of space. They already basically have the A bomb site under their possession. They just don't realize it yet, as Renegades are very much playing for the stack towards B and the retake option with their Rolling Thunder. From the Shadows has been locked, but they got information for Cloud9 to go ahead and pounce here through B Heaven, and even exchange, but still Cloud9 ahead overall. But Retro changes that with Jett. A great reaction.
A great reaction that forces Cloud9 back again. They wanted to try and hit B via the rafters, via the tower. That tower has collapsed. It's been demolished. Mitch, in the meanwhile, gets tanked by the turrets. They now completely understand the situation, Renegades. But how is their aim? Can it step up to the mark? Mitch has been in some fine form. It was an absolute beast in the first half and has very much continued that. But the Rolling Thunder stuns them both down, locking them into position. It's about to fade, though. And that ultimate's not going to do a great deal other than deny the plan. And it could be good enough just to win the round outright. No, he gets it in time, but it forces him away from the action, effectively separates it into 2 separate 1v3s, and Renegades will be successful, but they used everything in the process.
Yeah, they were really great to respond to Cloud9 quickly pivoting to that B Heaven attack. Retro, tip your hat to that, man. What a multi-frag, and what a time to do it right when their back sort of against the wall, based on Cloud9's very quick approach to map point. We've seen the last, 5 or so rounds. They've won 4 of the last 6. And then great use of the Rolling Thunder to stall the plant and really set up the confident retake, as Renegades will get themselves another here. They're just a couple away from tying this thing up. Economy is low for Renegades, though. That must be noted. They need to watch out for that. If they were to lose this round, they would have very little to work with going into what could have been the final round of the game. So this is important for them to not only win, but win clean.
Do more with less is the mission right now for Renegades. Boombot tossed in towards the ramp. Relyks just checking that left-hand side. It's one that I think he haven't really played too much as of yet, but the Boombot is being tagged, so it still gets intel. Flashpoint doesn't connect. Could bait them out. The second one does, though, and there's no follow-up. TenZ goes down alone. Big pick from Renegades, and they can peace out. A single point of health lost.
Man, that's massive. TenZ is one of those guys that really does create the room for the rest of his team, as well as being just a powerful entry fragger purely off aim. But have him go out early is great news for Renegades. Great use of the flashpoints to pick out a favorable duel and win it. Now they will have the 5-on-4 to work with going forward, as we do see Cloud9 relentless still on A. They do have their Mitch, though, lurking over into B Heaven with Killjoy. It might give them an option to transition over, depending on what he finds, or he might even be able to flank and help them pinch A side. But no, he's been caught. Left. Great job there from randyySavage to really just trap Cloud9 in over here.
2v5. And Cloud9 hitting a brick wall. They don't have the capability to knock it down. Even though there's weakened players on A, the flashpoint could not have been sweeter.
10 seconds left.
It affords Winsum a 3k. Even if he were to die, he's done his job. And Relyks tries his best to make it as costly as possible, but the defenders are victorious. Renegades make it work. The economy's still in good shape for Cloud9, but Renegades at least going in the right direction.
Indeed they are. They won that pretty clean. They only had to rebuy 2 players. That's great news for them for the rest of the game. They also still have their lockdown and their ult as well for Raze and Omen. So they have a lot to work with, but same could be said for Cloud9. They also have their Rolling Thunder in play and the showstopper for Relyks, so they definitely can use that to go ahead and try to pounce into round number 12, which I imagine they want to use it here. I think this is the moment where you want to really try to leverage those ults to make sure you get to map point and stop Renegades from tying.
There.
But the pressure swells on Cloud9 as well. They've been a little bit toothless in their previous 2 rounds. Great Leah tossed in. Paranoia behind it. Paint Shell also out. And Renegades getting the upper hand in the trades again.
So well done. Mitch caught as well, trying to lurk in through B main. And so now it's just going to be Breach and Raze. They both have their ults, but they're still up against 5. And unless they can find a couple of quick picks to kind of equalize numbers, there's really no way to put those abilities to use in an efficient manner. So it's going to take a little bit of extra effort first to get there. Again, Renegades just so stout on this defense. That time they went a little bit more assertive towards middle. And they caught both kills before Cloud9 could even get up to the stairs that Relyks now stands on, but with very little assistance around him. As time is dwindling to add to the odds. Renegades are very comfortable right now in their positioning.
30 seconds left. There.
Kind of position for the alarm bot that has given up the intel, actually whiffing the entire bullet.
That was so unlucky. He knew exactly where it was, and he didn't want to shoot it to alert, that he was there, but then it got activated anyway, and wound up hitting them both. Left. So now they just have to sit there and go ahead and save these rifles over to the next round as Renegades will tie this thing up. Vince, we got ourselves a game. This has been so fun all the way through and through, and it's fitting that it comes down to these last couple rounds to decide whether or not someone wins by the slimmest of margins or whether or not extra rounds are going to be required. Certainly no strangers to overtime. We had a couple of them yesterday on some of the group stage best of threes we were covering over in Group C.
Oh yeah, plenty of very, very close games, and a best of 3 that, sure, Renegades definitely had a puncher's chance in, but I think most people would have favored Cloud9 Blue coming into this, especially when they took a vast lead. So all the credit to Renegades and Cloud9. They've had some really impressive moments. Relyks is pushed back. This time they do look to try and go behind it, though. It's a boom bot. It's the showstopper. Is it the first kill? No. Winsum misses out. Does force Cloud9 back from A, though.
Indeed, but we are seeing Cloud9 set up over towards B with a lot of their forces. They do have, Raze and Reyna still kind of lurking out towards sewers and A side, just making sure that they're not getting pushed. And it seems like they might actually be switching back over. Now, they've left their Breach, who does have the Rolling Thunder, inside B lobby. They might be looking for a fake here. They might be looking for Mitch to lock down A and then revert back and then have Breach Rolling Thunder them into B. Or they could be the opposite way. They could put the Rolling Thunder into B side and then lock down A and look to walk into that direction. There's a couple of different options here for them. I'm not sure which they're going to choose, but they need to make sure to execute it perfectly. And indeed, there is the fake Rolling Thunder on B.
Fake, the flash is behind it, wants to fully sell this. Still 2 players on A, though. Renegades not budging.
30 seconds
holding their
left.
ground. It does keep the rest of the team, however, stuck on the B side. Now they're starting to rotate in. Winsum tries to get aggressive, tries to get around the back of them. In the meanwhile, Lockdown and Showstopper have both been deployed. Spike has now been planted, and they're relocating into better angles. Renegades have posted up so many valiant attempts when it comes to post plants, but this should be a bridge too far. Cloud9 in great position. 2 players are low, and now it's Renegades' turn. randyySavage drops himself a lockdown. They're being stuck in position for the time being, though, and how much is that lockdown realistically going to do? Because Vice and Relyks are just perched up at the back of the site. They can just ring in with assault rifle frangs. It's the Vandals taking off their heads. And the Renegades, they popped so much on that potential retake, and it completely backfires.
Yeah, that lockdown didn't really phase Cloud9 much at all. You were pretty much spot on. I mean, I think that maybe only one player was actually still in sight when they threw it down inside screens, and I think the very bottom corner of the site wasn't impacted by it, so he could just kind of chill over there while the rest of his team just held on to A ramps. And I think what they were trying to do was lock down, smoke off ramps, because that was the one area that was, going to be unfazed, and they were just going to kind of step into the site, but they could never really make that forward momentum. They got shut down. So well managed there by Cloud9, a good little fake from them, and they held on despite Renegades having some good pressure, threatening on that retake, but just, again, could never really fully execute it the way they had hoped. And now Cloud9 are 1 round away from winning. A very close game here in map 1 of these quarterfinals, but there is still a chance here for the Renegades to force that OT. All comes down to this moment here. As RetrQ is going to at least get assertive with the operator at Rance. The flash will push him off the angle, but now he'll recapture it.
Fault line doesn't affect him, and he sees the boombot going out, so he can hold his position.
Yep.
Odin, in the meanwhile, is spraying through all of these walls, hoping for the best. It's speculative from TenZ and doesn't get anything in return.
That is definitely a wall that is very spammable, and there's a lot of players who will play behind that or in the back of the site and could be hit, but not that time around. As you know, Raze's boombot doesn't really tell RetrQ much. I mean, that's just a normal, you know, default spot for Relyks anyway, so this doesn't tell him too much just yet. But as we can see, Cloud9 are starting to gear up all their players here, and he's going to soon find out what he's up against, and it'll be down to whether or not he can get a shot and get away and give his team an advantage.
If they slow peek this, though, he should be favored to get the kill, but Relyks still takes his head off. RetrQ was there for so long.
30 seconds left.
And how important could that moment be? This could be the beginning of the end. Renegades will be stuck at screens again, with Cloud9 getting up close. From the shadows has been popped. Omen trying to get around the back. And as the spike gets planted, Fault line is good, but so is Vice's aim. Winsum now from the backside. He's spraying them down, goes in for the defuse. Already half of it is done. He's going to stick onto this. He can keep going. No one's there to deal with him, and he'll get the clutch single-handedly.
Oh, they just popped the nano swarm a little bit
sides.
too late. If they would have popped it a little bit earlier, they would have forced him off the defuse, or he would have died to it. Oh no, I thought they had that. What a great entry from Relyks onto RetrQ. A good follow-up, but Winsum. Massive frags to get on the site, give him a chance for the defuse, and then, yeah, just a little too late on the nano swarm from Cloud9, who had it set up perfectly for the post plant. And now we go into overtime, Vince. Of course we do. And I couldn't be happier about it, man. I am so thrilled that, you know, our last cast tournament here in the quarterfinals, we get to witness this. This has been a fantastic game.
Well, I tell you who's not happy, that's Cloud9, because they'll feel like this should have been a done deal. They'll feel like they should be headed to Ascent right now, 1-0 up.
They were on a run, man. I mean, they had that run where they won 4 or 5 rounds, but right at the end, Renegades won 4 of the last 5 to force us to this point. So, yeah, a little bit of a failure to close from Cloud9. But again, Renegades, we've been impressed by them all game long, and they are not done showing off, it seems.
Aggression up in the face, Winsum clearly feeling it. Headshot delivered instantly, and this is where Mitch was a real nuisance and a real behemoth overall in regulation for Cloud9. He was doing so much work. Top fragging for his team. It's a post plant. Cloud9 now starting to throw in their utility, try and fend away and force back the now defending attackers of Renegades who put their flag deep into the ground of B. Dark cover, holding a bit more ground. Reyna gets picked off instantly, and Berghy then goes in for the headshot on Vice. And hold the phones, ladies and gents, because now Renegades have a chance to take this map.
They're just showing you how powerful that combination of the Jett to Tailwind and blast packing from Raze with the breach flash combination to just close distance on B at the back of the site so rapidly, how powerful that can be. And Renegades are so good at implementing it. They are very well drilled. I guess you can tell they put a lot of practice in on how they coordinate that, their timings. And then they even had, you know, CP2, who again is new to playing breach, you know, former basically always Sova. This is a map that you can't really play Sova though. And then prior to that, he even, I think, played some Jett and such like that before they got RetrQ onto the team. So this is, you know, really big for him to come out there and also get some good fault lines to hold off the retake. And now they are 1 round away, if they can put this defense up, from taking this map away from Cloud9 yet again. They've done this once before, but in the past. Can they do it here and now? They're so close.
Aggression this time. Renegades will have to try and deal with a post plant on A, or will they? Winsum again with 2. This guy is in unreal form right now. Spike does get planted down though. Shinobi puts it into position. Berghy, his opposite Omen, making moves through on the screens. Joined alongside Breach. How is your utility, Renegades? Can you get it on point? They look to push in. Dark covers, paranoia is being traded. CP2 goes in for 1. Berghy traded out, and it comes down to a 1-on-1. Renegades could potentially take this. Relyks holds his nerve. He has been spotted in this position, but still flicks in for the headshot and keeps the dream alive for Cloud9.
Switching sides.
They are not done
Overtime.
just yet. The favorites still showing you why. They are a force to be reckoned with there. Huge turn of events to keep this game going, as they will now be the ones looking to defend. Again, it's all about winning 2 in a row as we switch sides after each round. That's been the rule set for OT for quite some time in Valorant. And we're going to see Renegades. The spike's going to be on Omen over towards A side. The rest, though, looking to put some B lobby pressure on initially and then transition into mid control into some type of A split, it seems. Hard to tell this early, though.
Well, that fault line is perfect. It stops both of them, and it forces them away. That could not have been better timed for Cloud9. TenZ with the Odin sprays into Retro, and it forces away any garage presence.
Right. You can tell what they were going for. They were looking for Jett to be basically a fake with Breach to execute onto B while they really wanted the bulk of their forces to go A side. But Cloud9 with that fault line shut that down. They've read the script, and now they've been able to make the proper rotations where they are just dominating the scoreboard and the kill feed at this point in time.
One player remaining.
A little bit of fighting back there from Winsum, but it's certainly not going to be enough. That is a flawless round almost from Cloud9, only losing 1 player. Again, that fake just got busted way too quick, Vince.
Switching sides.
Yeah, you
Match
can't
point.
understate how integral that Vice fault line was to
Oh, yeah.
Garage. It hit 2 of them, and then I think they still charged through with Retro's Jett, and he just got wrecked from the back. Like, there's nothing he could do.
Yeah, he wanted to try to force the issue and continue to try to maybe cause a rotation, but killed too quick before he could have any real impact, and now Cloud9 are the ones out in front all of a sudden. This could be it, unless Renegades can hold on. It is going to be a heavy A play from Cloud9. Everyone's here.
Not going to write Renegades off, though. They have done such a great job to get to this point. Winsum has been a man on fire, banking the paint shells off the wall, but no one's home. They haven't quite pushed it just yet. Blue got behind it, and now he peeks in, but there's so many players to deal with. randyySavage, though, holds his nerve in sheets, getting 2 pretty clear, comfortable frags, and doing tons of damage to Relyks, who has been top fragging in the last few rounds for Cloud9. Longer range incursion, randyySavage goes in again. This time it's the flashpoint, but TenZ comes straight in with the shotgun and riddles him with bullets. The buckshot will sting. Flashpoints being traded out. Dark cover tossed into the bottleneck, and now Retro can try and play actively. And CP2 goes in. It's a 2v1, and Renegade successful again. We continue in overtime.
Yeah, I have to say, Renegades did a great job there defending against that initial ramp push. You know, Winsum putting down the boom bot at the perfect time with Cloud9. We're having the focus to turret on the Raptors, and then randyySavage able to play off the back of that for a couple of big kills. And what that did was keep his team in the race. Like, yeah, sure, it was still a pretty intense, you know, retake the follow-up, especially when we saw TenZ doing TenZ things by just getting, you know, wacky aggressive with Reyna inside screens with the shorty and, you know, blindsiding them essentially, but they were able to hold their nerve, regroup, and then come back in yet again and keep this overtime rolling. We're now 14-14. We're going the distance and then some. Whose stamina can last longer? That's now the question, as we do see Renegades lining up for one of those B burst plays again they've been oh so potent with. It's been their bread and butter, Vince, and we'll see if it's good again this time.
Feels like they've got a good read of it, though, Cloud9. It was that play that we mentioned before with Vice and the fault line. This time, though, they do wait a little bit longer. Winsum in first. It's a 2-for-2 trade, but now TenZ will take that equality and flush it down the toilet. 2v2 now falls upon us. Cloud9 have lost control over B, but they've kept Renegades honest. CP2 going in for the full plant. Winsum alongside him. Pink shell off the wall. Won't be claiming the kill, but does a lot of damage to CP2. He's down to 41. Can't really afford to peek too often, and if he does, it needs to be a snappy headshot. Instead, he's on the receiving end of a battering, clobbered down by Mitch, who on the Killjoy will be looking to go aggressive. Relyks gets caught, but Winsum misses his window of opportunity. Now they know exactly where he is. They can force him back. Had he have landed that headshot cleanly, it very well could have gone his way, but that is a big whiff at a huge moment.
Yeah, I thought that Renegades handled the bulk of that round pretty well. They
Switching
traded
sides.
evenly into B to get a
Match
post-plant
point.
2v2. They did a great job getting Winsum into defender spawn hallway rather than being bottlenecked and having to just play from inside the side or towards B garage. It gave them some options to maybe flank into B heaven or at least just set up a crossfire, something, you know, like give them more options, keep Cloud9 guessing a bit on the positioning, but Mitch just wins a really clean 1v1 in the site and then a missed opportunity from Winsum there in the spawn back hall. He's been so good all game long, up to 25 frags. He's leading the server, but just happened to miss one there on the 1v2 that allows Cloud9 to step up again with the lead. Can they push it all the way through this time, though, is going to be the real question.
Bomb buddy out.
Almost a victim of his own success. He's been playing so well, you just assume he'll land the insta-headshot. Doesn't happen this time around. And Cloud9 with another opportunity to take this map and make it theirs. Shinobi picking up the pace, going into the B towers, but Berghy, but an off angle, deals with him and forces them back again via mail. So will Cloud9 have a bit of map control dust? They have got themselves a bit of a problem ahead of them.
Yeah, he just kind of went for a dry peek there. He didn't want to tell, you know, his opponents where he was by throwing out a leer. He wanted to just go ahead and dry peek, but unfortunately he loses the 1v1 duel. You usually favor TenZ in those situations, but it didn't work out there. But Vice has brought one back, and he's been able to get some pressure over towards A heaven. Mid control attained by Cloud9 some time ago will now transition through ropes to reinforce this position. And there's really not much here. It's just randyySavage with the turret and his lonesome to defend this. Everyone else is still worried about a back hall's backstab.
Destroyed.
Now they're rotating in behind Relyks, but Cloud9 are well and truly going to probably pounce on this A site and be very successful unless this flank comes in fast enough from spawn.
randyySavage needs to pull off a miracle play, and Relyks is having none of it. He dampens any potential magic. Berghy
Spike
up in
planted.
heaven, bypassing the fault line and dealing with Mitch in the process. Post plant, 3-on-3. Renegades have won so many of these. Fault line is excellent. And Retro making tons of noise. It's actually the aftershock that takes down Relyks. What happened there? He was in amongst the smoke. I think he was completely caught off guard by that. And now Renegades have a golden opportunity to go straight for it again. Shinobi falls to the first hurdle. And it's Berghy with a 4K. Comes alive again. And Renegades continue to press forward.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought that Cloud9 was about to win it there. They did a great job with Vice getting the kill into A heaven, transitioning over, you know, catching a vulnerable A site that really only had the Killjoy in place. The only thing that I felt could go against him was Relyks had two people flanking him in spawn that might have been able to catch him, but they never did. And in fact, Relyks was able to come around and get a kill and help, you know, fully open A site. At that point, I believe they had a 4-on-3. But then, as you said, Relyks got trapped in the corner of screens. He didn't get out. I'm not sure if he didn't see the aftershock was coming through, if he thought that he was away enough from it to where he wouldn't get hit. He didn't want to flush himself out and get spotted. I thought that they even did a good job, like, fault lining and paranoying over there to kind of keep Relyks in position and maybe even get a peek off, but it just didn't happen. And Renegades keep this game going as they now set up for their own heavy A attack, it seems. All 5 here. Cloud9 will at least push B lobby and kind of realize what's going on.
All the Killjoy damage from Mitch. 2 go his way. randyySavage at least returns the favor. Relyks now at the back of the site, changing his angles up, trying to stay alive as long as possible. But randyySavage, he is just ripping straight through Cloud9. It's another one. It's a 3K, and it should be a map point to follow for Renegades. Vice is dodging, dipping, and darting past each and every ability that flies his way, but finally gets caught from the flashpoint. And with that alongside the lockdown, randyySavage comes in with a 4K and give Renegades a map point of their own.
Switching sides.
Man, that is impressive
Match
for Renegades. They just brute forced their way through all the nanoswarm, all the good efforts that Cloud9 were putting in on the initial defense. They just tramped over it. They just did not care. They could not be stopped. And now they are the ones with map point going back over to defense. We are seeing a lot of action over towards Ramen and B lobby here early from Cloud9 as far as how they're setting up. They could be looking for mid control and for Shinobi to paranoia into B heaven and give them something to work with as far as space. They also could be looking for that Reyna pillar wrap execute on the B side as well, as they do leave Relyks to lurk over towards ramps. We've seen such good defense out of Renegades that it may not matter. We'll have to see.
Vice hearing footsteps, pinging to his teammates.
I think he's pinging an aftershock location he wants to use to clear out the corner under heaven later. It's something that you will see players do, is kind of ping things to make it easier for them to set up spams and how they want to place abilities, as they are definitely putting all their numbers here now into males. They're looking to pounce on this B site.
Cloud9 mixing it up again. It's going to be a lot of presence shown on Raptors. Great flashpoint stocked in from CP2, and Retro makes the most of them. Relyks though through the box comes in for one of its own, and Vice goes back in, but Retro's picked up a 3K. Mitch though disperses him, and it will be a post plant coming up. There is no way of denying this. Renegades at least get up close and personal though on the retake. Boombot straight out dealing with the underactive position, but Mitch straight through with the drive-by headshot. It's all down to Mitch against 33 HP Winsum, who goes up close with the shotgun and actually neutralizes Mitch. Renegades will take first blood in this best of 3.
With 3 HP to spare too, Vince, it doesn't get closer than that. All the extra rounds, all the back and forth, so many close over situations, and it comes down to a 1v1 with 3 health on a...